Your local bank branch is just a tap, swipe, and click away. Thanks to Bank Live from D.L. Evans Bank. Bank Live is fast, simple, convenient video banking from wherever you are. From simple transactions like transfers to things you usually do from a branch like applying for loans to opening new accounts and signing documents. Personalized service is just a video call away. This is Bank Live from D.L. Evans Bank. This is community banking.
Let's celebrate. It's the 1-year anniversary at Judge's Car Wash. Do you have an unlimited wash plan with Judge's? No? You're in luck. Any new unlimited plans right now are just $5 the first month. That's right. You only pay $5 the first month on any unlimited plans right now at Judge's. Thanks, Cache Valley, for a fantastic year and for judging them #1 in Best of Northern Utah in express and full-service car wash. Don't miss $5 first month unlimited washes and the Haunted Tunnel now at Judge's Car Wash, 2500 North Main in Logan. You be the judge.
Governor inside your homes, hitting the issues that matter most to you.
This is Direct Link with Utah Governor Spencer Cox.
On stations throughout the state, in partnership with the Utah Broadcasters Association.
Rod, you're up.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Direct Link with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. This is a bi-monthly program that we do with radio stations from around the state and in coordination with the Utah Broadcasters Association as we talk about the issues that are important to you, that the governor is working on, issues that are important not only to the Wasatch Front, to the entire state of Utah. And Utah Governor Spencer Cox is now just joining us. We're trying to work out some technical issues right now, but we do have the governor on the phone with us tonight. Governor, how are you? And welcome to Direct Link with, a statewide program that we do every other month. Thank you for joining us tonight, Governor.
Rod, it's great to be with you. I'm glad we were able to make it work.
Well, so far, we've been able to make it work. We hope to be able to do so even more. Governor, let me start off the show by talking to you about the Bears Monument decision. This is an important decision that has been announced by the governor the other day. I think many people here in the state of Utah were hoping that President Biden would find some sort of neutral ground on all of this. Your reaction to it, what has happened?
Well, yeah, I want to clarify one thing. It was announced by the president, not the governor.
That's right. That's right, Governor. Thank you.
So my reaction, Rod, is one of deep disappointment. We had worked very closely with the president. The Secretary of the Interior made a trip out here. We had every member of the congressional delegation involved in various aspects of that trip, and I will note it was an expansion of two monuments. The Grand Staircase Escalante monument that was originally announced in surreptitiously by not even coming into Utah, but across the border in Arizona by 20 years ago. And then this one, of course, the extension. So it's deeply disappointing because this is what we come to is this ping-ponging of monuments now, where a Democrat comes in and to satisfy their base and their donors, they expand these monuments, and now then a Republican president comes in and shrinks them, and now we've seen a Democrat come back in and expand them again. And the biggest, there are lots of problems with this. One, of course, these are millions of acres, right? And it's the most un-American of laws, the Antiquity Act, which allows the president, with the stroke of a pen, doesn't need anyone else to join in, doesn't need Congress to weigh in, to lock up millions of acres of land, some of which have absolutely nothing of note. We have some of the most pristine acres of sagebrush you'll ever see in the Grand Staircase, and so. So that's deeply problematic. And in fact, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court recently wrote in another opinion that he believes that presidents are abusing potentially this Antiquities Act. It was never meant to be used this broadly. So that gives us hope as far as a legal action is concerned. But the second part of this is even more troubling, and that is that it doesn't do what they want it to do. These lands were already protected under federal statute. By designating them a national monument, there are no additional resources that come to these monuments. That can only be done through Congress. And so what they've done and what we found with the original Bears Ears proclamation is that it puts a bullseye there for visitors from all over the world to come, and yet there's no resources. So there are no additional law enforcement. There's no visitor center. There's nowhere for people to come, and it's actually been more destructive. We've seen more destruction to antiquities. We've seen more vandalism that is happening in these areas, and that's something that the Native American tribes don't want. It's something that the locals don't want either. And so it was just a really missed opportunity for us to come together. One of those rare chances where Republicans and Democrats could have come together, and we didn't. And so we'll go back to the drawing board. We'll have a lawsuit, and we'll continue to fight to get this right, to get more resources, and to get these monuments right-sized.
You know, Governor, I would have to think that there is some compromise here. I can't believe that we can't find a solution to this issue, because using it as a political football, as Mitt Romney described, is not doing anybody any good. And I know we can find a solution to this, and I'm confident that we can. Governor, of course, this is an opportunity for you to speak to the people of Utah around the state about issues that are important to them. And we already have a caller online tonight to join us. Let's go to James in Provo. James, how are you? And welcome to Direct Link with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. Go ahead with your question.
I'm doing okay. Anyhow, thank you for taking my call, Governor. Anyhow, I was just reading the ongoing news about the Biden administration and private and public landowners, for that matter, arguing over the expansion of federal lands. And I'm just wondering, is there any way that the two sides can kind of just split the difference and have a meaningful forever solution instead of this back and forth once administration ends to reverse policy? What is your opinion?
James, thank you. It's always great to hear from you. We've spoken on the phone many times, James, and I appreciate the call. Look, yes, there is an opportunity for a forever compromise. And we came to the table. We came to the table with potential proposals that were actually larger than the smaller monuments. Just some ideas. We didn't have the exact the exact land areas, but I think people in Utah really want to protect these lands. That's what's frustrating, is that we often get painted as heartless people who don't care about these antiquities and don't care about these lands, and that couldn't be further from the truth. We actually have great opportunities in places that need additional protection, and we want to see that happen, but that also need additional resources. And so we were absolutely open to compromise. We were open to making the monuments larger than they were after President Trump shrunk them down. We were open to find, because there is broad agreement on the lands and the antiquities that need to be protected and preserved, working with the tribes as well. I have no doubt that if you put a few of us into a room together, we could have come up with a solution that wouldn't have made everyone happy. In fact, probably would have made everyone a little upset, which is a sign of a good compromise. But we never got that opportunity, and that's disappointing.
Now, James, thank you very, very much for your call. Governor, by the way, if you have a question for the governor, let me give you the number to call to Direct Link with Utah Governor Spencer Cox, 855-399-6800. That's 855-399-6800. Governor, let's talk about the drought situation here in the state of Utah. I guess from what I understand, what I'm reading today, that this emergency declaration on the drought is over and you've decided not to extend it. Obviously, we aren't out of the drought yet, but why did you do that, Governor?
Well, the way this works under the new law is we need the legislature to weigh in to be able to extend that. There's no pressing need right now. The purpose behind the original declaration, there are a couple purposes. One is a funding issue. We can work around some of those things. The other is to be able to implement restrictions where necessary and to give cover for those local water districts to be able to do that, and then work on any federal resources that are available as well. Now, we will still work on those federal resources, but right now we're headed in. We also have fire restrictions that have been lifted because of the time of year. And these initial storms, we obviously are not out of this. We need a couple incredible winters, but this is the perfect start to a good winter. If we're going to get through this now, this is what we need. We need the ground to be soaked. We need to start to get that moisture in the mountains, and we need sprinklers to be shut off, which is exactly what's happening right now. I just for fun, I went and checked. Most people don't know this. The water year starts on October 1st, so that's how we measure water years. And the good news is we're only halfway through the month of October, but we're 3,000% above normal for right now. So it's a great start to see some snow in the mountains, and we're headed in the right direction.
No, Governor, you're too optimistic. How did we do in conserving water this summer? Did Utahns do a good job?
Yeah, they really did. In fact, they did a better job than we've ever seen before. So many people work to conserve. It was impactful. I had water resource managers across the state say, you wouldn't believe it. You know, we had a press conference, we did things, we asked people, and then immediately their usage just fell. Billions and billions of gallons of water that were saved. So that's good, because every drop we save this year can be used next year. And if we have another, again, we're off to a better fall. You'll remember last year we had a terrible fall. We didn't have any rain through August, September, October, into November, and then we had very little snow. And when it melted, it went straight into the ground. So the good news is any snow we get right now, because the ground is soaked, will actually go into our reservoirs. Now, we're below 50%, well below 50%, but it's not the lowest we've ever been, and that's because people really stepped up and saved water. So if we have a good winter, we won't have to worry about drinking water next summer.
If you have a question for the governor, here's the number to call, 855-399-6800, 855-399-6800. We had a caller a couple of minutes ago, Governor, and I knew this question was going out, asking you to explain and expand on your opposition to the vaccine mandates. They haven't come down from the federal government. I know lawmakers are very concerned about this. You are as well, but you've also said if lawmakers pass a law which prevent local businesses from enforcing vaccine mandates, that you would consider vetoing it. Can you expand on that and talk about that a little bit, Governor?
Sure, I can, Rod. And by the way, just back to that last question quickly. Salt Lake City service area, 1.8 billion gallons saved since July 1st.
Wow.
Sandy City, over a billion gallons in Sandy City. Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District, 31% less this August than last August. So just wanted to share a couple of those numbers that I thought you might appreciate. But let's talk about mandates. Look. Here's how I feel about mandates. I believe that President Biden absolutely overstepped his legal authority, his constitutional authority. I think it was a huge mistake. I do not believe the government should be mandating these vaccines on businesses the way that he said he was going to. Now, interestingly, they still have not released the regulations to do that. So there is no mandate, no mandate right now. But when it was, I actually met with leadership and the Attorney General's office today. We're working on a lawsuit with other states that we will have ready to go the minute those regulations do come out, so that we can fight this. Government should not be involved in requiring businesses to do this. I believe that very thing, that's a very conservative principle. And I believe that same conservative principle applies in other places. I don't believe that government should be forcing bakers to make cakes for people. I don't believe government should be telling businesses what to do. And that includes government should not be telling businesses they can't have vaccine mandates if that's what they choose to do. Again, it may be unpopular, you may not like it, but I believe that the Constitution gives us a property right and gives businesses that right and owners of businesses to make those decisions. And whether we like them or not, that's a very conservative principle. And so I think it's disingenuous on one hand to say, hey, President Biden, you should not be issuing an executive order to require mandates, and then say, Governor Cox, you should issue an executive order to require businesses not to allow them to require vaccination. That doesn't doesn't track for me. And so I believe that there should be freedom, and freedom includes the ability for businesses to make those decisions. But we have to push back on these government mandates, and that's exactly what we're doing. And as soon as the president actually issues that mandate, we will push back on that as well.
All right, we're talking with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. It is Direct Link with the governor, with the Utah Broadcasters Association and radio stations around the state. If you have a question for the governor, here's the number to call: 855-399-6800. We'll get to more of your calls. We'll take a 2-minute break and be back with Direct Link with Utah Governor Spencer Cox.
I'm Larry Gelwigs, the getaway guru. Morris Murdoch and Columbus Travel announced their merger and are celebrating with cruise and travel discounts, including Princess Cruises with free open bar, free Wi-Fi, and free prepaid gratuities, a savings of up to $700 per person. For details, call your favorite Morris Columbus Travel office.
Come on and get away, Morris Columbus.
NMLS 1817019.
LendRight Mortgage declares freedom from high rates and closing costs with the introduction of our Freedom Loan. What is a Freedom Loan? 1, you pay 0 closing costs. 2, you get a rate that's the same or lower than the rate other lenders charge you thousands in points and fees to get. The choice is clear. Pay thousands more than you should with another lender, or get the same or lower rate and have the Freedom Loan cover 100% of your closing costs. Act now. Freedom Loan APRs are as low as 1.92% for 8 to 15-year terms and 2.67% for 16 to 30-year terms. Call 801-APPROVE or visit lendrightmortgage.com. Get a Freedom Loan and say no to high rates and closing costs. Call 801-APPROVE or visit lendrightmortgage.com.
These are the sounds of a dinner. A dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
Hey, listen up. It's time to love your heart. Go to clevelandclinic.org/loveyourheart and learn what really matters to that lovable heart of yours.
News Talk KVNU, 610 AM at 102.1 FM.
All right, welcome back to Direct Link with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. I'm Rod Arquette, host of the program this evening from iHeartMedia here in Salt Lake City. We welcome radio stations from throughout the state listening in on the program tonight. Again, the phone lines are open to you. If you have a question for the governor, 855-399-6800. That's 855-399-6800. Let's go to the phones. This is a chance for you to talk with the governor. And Michelle is in Heber tonight. Michelle, welcome to Direct Link with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. Go ahead with your question.
Thank you. My question is just listening to the conversation about not allowing mandate blocking either on employers. I'm wondering how that expands to employers such as IHC or local government entities such as police and fire department. If we have a problem where IHC is requiring vaccinations and all the nurses and doctors are walking out, or all the teachers are walking out of the schools, all of our police and firemen are walking out because they're not going to be expected to follow these mandates, do we change the conversation at that point about whether or not we allow those decisions to be made?
Governor, your thoughts.
Well, thanks, Michelle. And I appreciate the question. There are a couple pieces of that. So one is you mentioned some professions that are government. And again, I'm not comfortable with government mandating this vaccine, and so obviously those would be excluded. Now, private businesses, again, and that includes some of the healthcare industry, would have the opportunity to do that, and potentially, you're correct. There are the potential that some employees would choose not to follow that mandate. By the way, I should also point out, Rod, if I could, one other thing.
Go ahead.
All of these employers should also have exceptions in there. Medical exceptions, I think, are absolutely critical. Religious exemptions should be included as well. And another one that I think we should talk more about is for people that have already had COVID. We're looking at the data right now, but there is some data out there that shows that having previously had COVID, a verified case of COVID, is similar to having a vaccine as far as the antibodies that the person has and the immunity that comes from that. So that's another area I think we should talk about where people that shouldn't be required to have it. But that being said, those are decisions, and individual employers are going to have to make those decisions. If we lose part of our employees and then can't stay in business, well, then that's a good reason not to do it, right? And this does speak to a broader problem, though, and the bigger problem isn't people leaving their work because of vaccines. We don't have many companies in Utah that have issued a vaccine mandate. The bigger problem is we just don't have enough workers right now, and that is true in every single industry. Certainly, we're seeing it in healthcare. We're seeing it. We don't have enough engineers. We don't have enough doctors. We don't have enough teachers. We don't have enough police. Don't have enough dishwashers. We are struggling right now. Our economy is doing so well and our unemployment is so low that we just don't have enough people in the workforce right now. And so everybody's looking at incentives to get people working. I could spend another half hour on those problems and what we think are causing them. But every employer is going to have to look at that. And I think that's one of the reasons we haven't seen more employer vaccine mandates, is because they are worried that they won't have enough people to offer the goods or services that they need. But that's the way the market is supposed to work, and I think we should let it work. That's what, as a true Republican, that's what I believe in, and that's what we've always believed in.
Governor, I want to follow up on that real quick before we get to another phone call. The mere threat to businesses that these mandates may be coming down, is that having a chilling effect already on businesses here in the state who are afraid to hire people because of these mandates?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I've talked to some businesses, but Rod, it's really interesting. If I were to ask most Utahns, I bet that they think that the president has already issued the order around the vaccine mandate, right? And that's a conversation I've been having. Remember, it only applied to businesses of 100 employees or more, but it's never been issued, so it's not even out there. And so I do believe that there may be a chilling effect. If you only have 95 employees and you're looking to expand, you're going to be very wary about crossing that 100-person threshold if there are going to be additional mandates. And that's why it's important to know that together with many other states, we are going to be pushing back. We also think that we have the authority here in Utah to not enforce that. Some states, OSHA is run by the federal government in their states. In other states, the state runs OSHA, and we are one of those states where we run OSHA. Now, if they were to decertify us, which they could if we didn't implement the regulation, that would take some time. And so I made it clear we're not going to be implementing that anytime soon, and we'll let those lawsuits play out.
All right, we've got another question. We've got the phones are lit up, Governor. You're a popular guy, so let's get to some more of these calls. Let's go to Bob in Salt Lake City. Bob, welcome to Direct Link with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. Go ahead with your question.
Yes, Governor Cox, would you address the railroad from Mighton to Price, how that project is coming?
Yeah, thanks, Bob. So for those that don't know, a Uinta rail option that is being worked on right now. Plans are in place, and I know the studies have been completed. We're waiting. I believe that we're waiting on the federal government on the permits. That's where we are right now. We're getting close. We're very supportive of that project. It's a huge deal for the basin to help with lots of things. Of course, it will help in the energy sector to transport the natural gas and oil that comes out of that basin. Better transport instead of putting it on trucks, which is clogging up our roadways and is very dangerous. This is a much better option. but better for so many other things. As we bring manufacturing back, we have supply chain issues. We found that during COVID, and especially with what's happening with China. We need manufacturers coming back, and they are coming back to Utah, and they need to be able to transport. The Uinta Basin is the perfect place for some of these manufacturing operations. And so this railway is moving forward. We're optimistic, and we feel like it's going to get done over the next couple of years. So great news for the Uinta Basin.
All right. Thank you, Governor. Let's go to Bo, who's in Sandy tonight on Direct Link with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. Bo, go ahead with your question. Thank you for joining us. Hello, Bo. Bo going once.
Bowen, is this Bowen? Do you hear me?
Yep. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for taking the call, Governor Cox. But the question I have is about, I just visited Long Beach actually this past week, and I don't think it's obviously a very big secret what's going on there. We got the container ships out in the port. And I was just kind of wondering, since Christmas season coming up and a lot of families are trying to plan ahead for buying presents and whatnot, how big of an effect of all those container ships sitting in that port is that going to be with us sitting here in the state of Utah when it comes to like the stock and stocking the shelves for gifts, and not only that, but like food and stuff? And that was my question.
All right, Bo.
Well, you've seen it. Yeah, you've seen it firsthand, and if for people listening, if you aren't paying attention to this, you should be. I would definitely encourage you to Google what's happening with the supply chain issues. This is a huge deal. Now, we knew there were going to be some supply chain issues coming out of the pandemic for a couple reasons. One, it takes longer for production to ramp up. Two, we've been having these issues with China, and three, the federal government just keeps giving away money like there's no tomorrow, and maybe there isn't the way they're giving away money, but it's led to this incredible increase in consumer purchases. And unfortunately, the shipping infrastructure in our country has not kept up. And this is very frustrating that the federal government hasn't gotten more involved. There are some union issues. I mean, they're not operating even 7 days a week. And these ships are getting stuck, and they are backed up weeks out into the ports and into the ocean, and they're not getting unloaded, and they're not getting shipped across the country. And it's a huge deal. It's hurting in a couple ways. One is inflationary. It's increasing the cost of goods in our country. And two, you mentioned it. We're getting additional warnings out of the White House today that for Christmas, a lot of things just aren't going to be available. It's going to take, when you think you can order something and it takes a couple days or a week, it may take a couple weeks or months to get those things in. And people are being encouraged to make their Christmas shopping happen now. To try to avoid that. But this is one of those areas. This is why a federal government exists, is to deal with these cross-state boundary issues. There's nothing I can do about the ports in California except to help create an inland port, which is actually something we're working on to alleviate some of that pressure. But this is something where we need some real leadership at the federal level, and we're just not seeing it right now.
All right, Governor, thank you. We'll continue with your questions on Direct Link with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. If you'd like to call the governor, have a question for him tonight, he is available. He'll be with us for another full half hour. 855-399-6800. 855-399-6800. More of your calls, more of your questions for Utah Governor Spencer Cox on Direct Link here. More coming up after this. Your company.
Good evening. I'm Bill Walter, KVNU News. Cross-country traveler Gabby Petito was strangled. A Wyoming coroner announced today. Teton County Coroner Dr. Brent Blue said in a news conference the 22-year-old Petito had been dead for weeks before her body was found September 19th near an undeveloped camping area along the border of Grand Teton National Park.
After a detailed investigation by our forensic pathologist, our anthropologist, and local law enforcement, with assistance from the FBI, the Teton County Coroner's Office is following the following verdict. In the manner of death of Gabrielle Lenora Petito, we find the cause and manner to be death by strangulation, and manner is homicide.
It wasn't clear if the determination might lead to additional charges against Petito's boyfriend and traveling partner, Brian Laundrie, who is considered a person of interest in her disappearance and remains unaccounted for. Idaho officials will make available up to $200,000 to be divided into payments for hunters and trappers who kill wolves in the state through next summer. The Idaho Department of Fish and Game late last month entered into an agreement with a nonprofit hunting group to reimburse expenses after a proven kill. The agreement follows a change in Idaho law aimed at killing more wolves that are blamed for attacking livestock and reducing deer and elk herds. Montana this year also expanded when, where, and how wolves can be killed. Cache Valley weather for tonight. Cloudy and a 30% chance of rain or snow this evening. Overnight low in the mid-20s, and then partly cloudy tomorrow. High temperature in the mid-40s. A few snow showers developing again Wednesday night. For the latest news, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
Hi, I'm Holly Danes, and I've enjoyed serving Logan as your mayor. I've kept my promises to revitalize downtown, modernize our city's aging infrastructure, and expand parks and trails with input from our citizens and taxpayers. We've accomplished all that without raising taxes and while balancing our budget. So let's keep the momentum going for a brighter future. I'm asking for your vote in the upcoming election.
Paid for by Danes for Mayor campaign.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Wednesday on This Morning, America's First News. If Democrats are struggling to unite on how to pass infrastructure and social spending bills, what will they present to voters next year ahead of the midterms? We'll have analysis. Also, a deep dive about the amount of waste created when online shoppers return merchandise, and supply chain issues causing a scare for people needing a Halloween costume. Wednesday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
Hey, it's me, the regular dad. I ask guys like you a few questions, a kind of parenting test. So here goes. What is this sound? Yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it? That's the sound a young teenager makes when he's done something he regrets. Maybe he got caught up in peer pressure, tried a few drinks at a party, and the next morning, well, he makes this sound. Kind of a sad sound, isn't it? Hear the embarrassment, the reluctance, the pulling away? If you recognized it, then you know exactly what to do. Listen. It might take a long time, a drive together, or a walk that turns into a talk, and that turns into an arm around his shoulder that means you understand. That's when you can really talk, when he knows you understand. Then the both of you can figure out how not to make the same mistake again. I know it's tough. Keep at it. You're doing great.
This message brought to you by The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
The station for news and talk. KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
You're listening to Direct Link with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. I'm Rod Arquette, the host of the program this evening from iHeartMedia here in Salt Lake City. Radio stations around the state are carrying the program tonight, and we invite you to call. This is your chance to talk directly with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. The number to call, 855-399-6800. 855-399-6800. Let's go back to your calls. Let's go to Don, who is in South Ogden tonight for Utah Governor Spencer Cox. Go ahead, Don, with your question, please.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why the state doesn't do more for senior citizens with the help with expenses, especially with property taxes, the way they're going up. I have two neighbors. One lady told me, this has been a couple of years ago even, that she and her daughter, that after all their expenses, they only have about $300 a month to eat on. And another neighbor, these are both senior citizens in their early 80s. Another neighbor that she has taken out a second mortgage on her house, and I'm guessing twice. I'm guessing the second time, I'm guessing it might be a reverse mortgage. Isn't there something that the state can do for senior citizens like other states have done to maybe freeze their property taxes at a time when they become senior citizens?
Don, thank you for that question. So
it is very difficult for people who live on a fixed income, like the neighbors that you're talking about. And so we worked closely with the legislature last year to do some things to help improve life for our senior citizens. One of those is that we significantly reduced the taxes on Social Security. So we were a state that did require seniors to pay taxes on Social Security, and so we made that change. Just that change alone was about an $18 million state income tax, and that $18 million goes right into the pockets of Utah senior citizens. So $18 million for senior citizens last year. We also do have several programs that help seniors, and I don't have these right in front of me, but every senior citizen center in the state has those. We can where they're able to get help with their heating. They're able to get help with their telephone bills. And they can actually just call, if anybody's listening, you can call 211 and they will connect you. 211 is the number to be connected to all of these different different services. There's a circuit breaker program as well to provide general property tax relief to certain taxpayers who are low income and who have household incomes below a statutory mandated level, who own their place of residence. Some renters may apply as well. There is a renter's credit, and so any person providing their own financial support who is 66 years of age, a surviving spouse, regardless of age, there's a whole bunch of ways that these people may qualify, and so and again, that is to reduce their property tax. So I would encourage, if you know people like that, again, call 211 or check with your county assessor. The county assessor's office will have information, and sometimes those forms are right online where you can apply for that circuit breaker program.
Governor, I want to follow up on that. This is a question that I get quite often about taxing Social Security recipients here in the state of Utah. You mentioned we've reduced it. Can we just totally eliminate it? Is that possible?
Yeah, it's possible. It's something we talked about last year. When I say we reduced it, basically, the argument was that everybody gets Social Security, and that the Gail Millers of the world, the Mitt Romneys of the world, they're perfectly fine to pay taxes on their Social Security after a certain amount, right? And so so what we did was we significantly raised the state tax credit so that the first $50,000 of Social Security isn't being taxed, which is what most Utahns will fall under that. And so those that are above that threshold would still pay taxes on that. So we got close. We definitely took a step in the right direction, and I would support continuing to move that needle.
All right, Governor, thank you. Let's go to Dan in Salt Lake City tonight on Direct Link with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. Dan, go ahead with your question.
Thank you, Governor. First of all, I'd like to say that I don't necessarily agree with your position on your vaccine mandate and the fact that you're putting companies ahead of citizens in this state. Governor Abbott of Texas, Governor DeSantis of Florida have taken very courageous moves, putting citizens and their rights before companies, saying that they will overrule and use their executive powers to not allow any mandates on citizens that limit their freedoms and powers. So that's number one that I'd like you to respond to. Number two is, why in the world aren't we early treating people with COVID? We hear commercials on the radio that taxpayers are paying for. We're filling up hospitals because people are getting COVID. We're telling them to go home. And sorry, the medical establishment can do nothing for you until you can't breathe. We know how to treat COVID. Doctors know how to treat COVID in all three phases of the disease. Yet we continue to just hit this one note on the piano keyboard, ignoring everything else. And we've put an embargo on all early treatment of people. Why aren't we doing more to help citizens that are home today struggling with COVID, hoping that the two worst outcomes possible won't materialize? And that is that I have to go to the hospital and that I end up on a ventilator and die.
All right. Well, thank you, Dan, for your question. Governor, your response.
Sure, Dan. I appreciate that. Look, you and I obviously disagree on this one. There are no rights that are being violated by businesses. You don't have a right to work anywhere you want, and businesses put requirements on employees all the time. Now, there are certain requirements like race that are not allowed, but certainly nothing like a vaccine requirement has ever been. It's amazing to me that we're against mandates from government until it's a mandate that we think we should have, or something that we disagree with. I think that's incredibly dangerous. And by the way, if I were to issue an executive order, that would be unconstitutional. I don't have the authority to do that, and quite frankly, I don't know what the laws in Texas or other places are. But a lot of that is political grandstanding. It's not actually principled. And so that's where I really struggle with this argument that a mandate from someone on my side is okay, but a mandate from someone on the other side is not okay. And so I'm opposed to government mandates. I'm just adamantly opposed to them. And that's a mandate requiring businesses to do something that there is no legal authority to prevent them from doing. And so that's where I really struggle, because as soon as I say, hey, yes, I'm going to stand up and issue this unconstitutional executive order because someone doesn't like what a business is doing, where does that end? Now you're perfectly, then when the other side wants to do it, now it's okay. So you and I just definitely disagree on that one. Look, we're doing everything we can to prevent hospitalizations from COVID. In fact, we have significantly expanded monoclonal antibodies here in the state of Utah, so that people that have COVID and are at high risk of being hospitalized can get this life-saving treatment that has the ability to significantly reduce the hospitalizations and deaths. We set up a new COVID or a new monoclonal antibody delivery system right here in the state. We're delivering monoclonal antibodies in southern Utah, northern Utah, central Utah. These treatments, the same treatments that President Trump received when he tested positive. He was one of the first people in the nation to receive that treatment. And so we're doing everything that we can to significantly reduce the hospitalization. In fact, just during this past week, we have provided 458 monoclonal antibody treatments just in the past week. And 178 of those, or about 170 of those, about 40% of those were provided in areas outside of the Wasatch Front. Rural hospitals are doing an incredible job of providing these. I was actually down at Gunnison Hospital just a couple weeks ago, and we talked about them with these early delivery systems to protect people. We also know that there are some new drugs that are coming online. We're hoping to get FDA approval from those. A pill that will act as kind of an antiviral similar to a Tamiflu that has shown a significant ability to decrease hospitalization. So we're absolutely supportive of preventing hospitalization. And it turns out the best way to do that is to get vaccinated. And that's the data on this is so clear that we just, if you want to prevent hospitalization, get vaccinated. And if you don't, we'll try to get you monoclonal antibodies. We don't have enough for everyone, but certainly those that are most at risk. And we'll do everything to save lives and keep you out of the hospital.
Let's go to Chris in Holiday on Direct Link with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. Chris, thanks for joining us. Go ahead with your question.
You bet, and thank you, Governor Cox, for serving. I live in Holiday, Utah, but I actually grew up out in rural Utah, so I often joke that I'm a redneck masquerading as a city slicker here. This good hunting weekend here. It's fall. Guys are getting and their guns. They're going out in the woods and wilderness and going after elk and deer. My question to you, Governor Cox, is I've followed it for years and years and years and years, and it seems like all the coveted good tags go to the same special interest groups that auction them off at the Sportsman's Expo, and they get really, really high dollar amounts for these tags. And I'm wondering, one, is there a better audit and accountability of that money and where it's being spent? And then two, what prevents me as a limited entry elk point holder, I have 27, by the way, which is very coveted, who's really lost his interest in hunting, I really have out here, from auctioning my tag off and then taking my money and giving it to my local Little League or giving it to my alma mater, Utah State. Their golf team would need a little bit of money. I mean, the tag that I want to go for is the Boulder Limited Entry elk tag, and I think it sold for $300K last year. That's quite a lot. So why can't I sell mine as a private citizen, but there's tags that come out of the people's deer that get sold to the king's deer? Does that make sense? And that's my two questions. And thank you again for your service.
All right, Governor, go ahead with your answer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, it's that time of year. You and I both feel we're both rednecks masquerading in the city now, as I'm living on South Temple and feeling definitely out of place. But it's a good question, and I always try to say I'm not going to BS you if I don't know the answer, and I don't. Chris, I apologize. I don't specifically have an answer for this one, other than I know the law does not allow it right now. It doesn't mean that the law couldn't allow it in the future, and certainly to our sportsmen, this is always controversial. I mean, when I was a kid, everybody could get a tag, and we could hunt wherever we want. Certainly, that wasn't the. I mean, it was great for me. It wasn't ideal as our herds really faltered because of that. We've done a great job working together with some of our sportsmen associations of rebuilding herds across the state, and having some better animals, some bigger animals, these beautiful animals, and but that doesn't mean the process is perfect, and it doesn't mean the process can't be refined. And so I'm certainly open to working with again with our sportsman groups and others to try to find the best process, and it is great when we can raise some money for worthy causes, and these worthy causes have mostly gone to conservation efforts, again put back into the herds, and so it's a way to get some of that private money into the system to help us where maybe we don't have enough taxpayer dollars and shouldn't use taxpayer dollars for some of those things, and that's one way to do it. But I wish I had a better answer for you, Chris, but I wish you the best in your future draws, and wish you happy hunting.
All right, Governor, we'll take a 2-minute break and come back with our final segment of Direct Link with Utah Governor Spencer Cox.
When the bills from your accident pile up, it's time for you to consider professional legal counsel. Get the Bear. Berenson and Caldwell.
My name's Keenan Prescott. Berenson and Caldwell helped me manage a lot of different aspects to a complicated case. Someone hit me head on with their car, and I've had a lot of different legal things surrounding that, like my health insurance broke their contract with me. My medical bills would not have been paid without Berenson and Caldwell. They've been really good at explaining things and helping me understand their process.
Visit BerensonLaw.com to instantly connect and receive a free case review of your injury. BerensonLaw.com.
Wednesday edition, Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show will be breaking down the latest insanity as they try to whittle down the $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation bill. Plus, Buck, what else?
More details on what happened with the Southwest Airlines flight cancellations. Is this a form of protest against the vaccine mandates? Could it spread to other industries, other states across the country? That's coming up on the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
All of us love sports, but not all sports are created equal. College sports have big budgets, dedicated alumni networks, and corporate sponsorships. Professional sports have even deeper pockets, millionaire owners, lucrative TV and radio deals, and merchandise sales. High school sports have you. Everyone agrees high school sports give us plenty of reasons to cheer. And now's a great time for us to give back. Supporting your hometown high school won't cost you much, but it will go a long way to ensuring the games we love the most are here to stay. Utah High School Sports. They're good for our kids, good for our community, and best of all, they're good for you.
This message presented by the Utah High School Activities Association and the Utah Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
As our world changes, we'll keep you up to date. News Talk KVNU, 102 FM, 610 AM. Also on the new KVNU mobile app.
Governor Spencer Cox, our final segment. So let's go right back to your phone calls. Get a few more in if we can before we wrap up the show. Let's go to Lynn, who is in Holiday tonight. Lynn, welcome to Direct Link with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. Go ahead with your question.
Thank you so much, Governor Cox. Thank you so much, Governor Cox, for all that you're doing,
welcome, Lynn.
and for the opportunity for us to call in. My wife and I, we were hiking up Memory Grove a couple of weeks ago to take in all the colored leaves and everything. And we noticed up tucked in the woods, there was a homeless encampment. And I'm just wondering what Utah is doing to keep control on the homelessness, because I know if it goes unchecked, that it'll just get worse and worse.
All right, Lynn, thank you for your question. Governor, your response.
Yep, you're right, Lynn. And we'll let me tell you a couple things that we've done just recently. I just recently appointed a homeless coordinator, former Senate President Wayne Niederhauser, and we're working with Salt Lake City and other communities throughout the state on this coordinated effort. We're cleaning up these camps. We're going out and getting people into services. We're helping them find resources. We've also just in this last session put, I want to say close to $100 million. I apologize, I don't have the number right in front of me, into housing services and homelessness and low income housing. And we're working with Salt Lake City. They're working on a development for tiny houses to get more people into housing. So there are several different programs, but you're absolutely right. If they go unchecked, then they can get out of control. Several states are struggling with this right now. We're certainly not alone, but we have to really take this head on, and that's what we're doing. That's why former President Wayne Niederhauser is here, and he's coordinating those efforts. Thank you so much for the call, Lynn.
All right, let's go to Patrick for one more call. Patrick from West Bountiful. Go ahead with your question for Governor Cox. Go ahead.
So my question is, why do we have it so that these companies cannot be held responsible, those that mandate and those that created it, the vaccine? We have it now with the emergency response that we cannot come after the company or anybody that mandates it. So when we have any kind of complication, any kind of adverse event, we have no absolute recourse over something that we had zero chance to accept whether we wanted it or not.
I do think you do have a chance to accept whether you want it or not, and that's important. Again, that's certainly something. That's why I'm opposing these the government mandates. But certainly you have a choice. You have a choice about where you work. You have a choice about now again on the federal side, where the federal government has mandated that for federal employees. We have not done that for state employees. I don't have any authority over that. But I don't know that there is no recourse whatsoever for the companies. I don't believe that there is a liability restriction on those companies, but certainly we've had vaccines for a long time. Now the federal government may have placed a restriction on you're talking about like Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, those companies that have created the vaccine, but I'm not aware of any other legal restrictions on someone's ability to pursue a potential liability claim.
All right, Governor, no more questions, but we have just about 1 minute left, Governor. But real quick, if you could give your assessment as to where we are in this fight against COVID here in the state of Utah, in about 30 seconds, where do we stand, Governor?
Well, the good news is that we've seen a little bit of a decrease in a plateau in the Delta variant. And so we're certainly, that's good news. We're seeing it in other states that were a little ahead of us with the Delta variant on that decline. And as I talk to some of the experts in the country, they think that this is the last wave and we're headed on our way down, and we'll have new medications that will make this easier to live with moving forward. So I think this is the last big surge we're going to have to deal with.
All right, Governor, thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you, Governor. All right, that has been Direct Link with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. We thank all the stations for carrying this and for you listening tonight to Direct Link with Utah Governor Spencer Cox.
You've You've been listening to Direct Link with Utah Governor Spencer Cox on stations throughout the state in partnership with the Utah Broadcasters Association. Tune into this station every other month for Direct Link.
Hey, it's Al Lewis. We all know buttons make our lives easier. But if you have sleep apnea and can't use CPAP, did you know there's a button that can help you go from this to this? It's called Inspire. It's a small device that works inside your body with just the click of a remote. That's right, a button. If you struggle with CPAP, great sleep awaits at InspireSleep.com. Inspire. Sleep apnea innovation. No mask, no hose, just sleep. Inspire is not for everyone. Talk to your doctor to see if it's right for you. And review important safety information at InspireSleep.com.
Charles is dying from COVID-19, not because he has the disease, but because he has to travel 95 miles in an ambulance to the nearest open ICU bed. Yes, his local ICU was just minutes away, but it's full of COVID patients, nearly all of whom haven't been vaccinated. So, if you think you're not hurting anyone by skipping the vaccine, think again. Please, get vaccinated. Find a location at coronavirus.utah.gov.
Keeping you informed 24/7. News Talk KVNU Logan, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.